Hey guys, PJ back with Exotic Car Hacks, and today we are talking about confusion because you see behind me is an RSQ8. It costs $100,000 less than a Lamborghini Urus, but it really seems to be the exact same car, just in a different type of shell. And in order to illustrate my point on how really it is the same car and they're just fooling us with a different body, I've decided to basically show you this explanation with two keys. You see, these two keys right now basically belong to the Urus and the RSQ8. And they are of very different shapes. You can clearly see they're not the same key, right? Like they're different. But they're really not, because if you look at the buttons, you'll notice that the structure of the keys are exactly the same. So is the panic button. It's ultimately the cover that just looks different. So it leads you to kind of this idea that, are the cars really the same cars with different bodies? And the short of it is, they really are. You see, for the RSQ8, which this isn't my car, and I'm always very proud of only featuring cars I own here on the channel, but I decided to borrow this because you can't, okay, if you can afford this, you ultimately can't drive this, because basically you are the poor version of this. So it's almost like the Lamborghini Huracan and the R8. I've said that the 17 R8 is a better car than the older Huracan, but I've also said that it's kind of difficult when you're like, I bought an R8 because it's a better car, when it's $100K cheaper and you really couldn't afford the other one. So that's kind of the logic that we have here when we look at this car versus this car. This is basically a big dick contest. Like if you have a bigger dick, you have this, and if you have a smaller dick, you have this. Or you would say the opposite if you were talking about money. And this isn't a thing for anybody that owns an RSQ8. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's really hard to justify an RSQ8, no matter how good of a car it is, if you can afford an Urus. But we're going to actually go through this video and make you understand why, despite how incredible this car is, that is still ultimately a significantly better car. And here's why. Because I have previously said time and time again that I hate this car because I think it's an overpriced pile of shit. Now, I did say with the Pearl capsule that they've refined some of the things that annoyed me about the car, but it's still incredibly overpriced when you can buy this for $100K cheaper. But it brings us to an incredible lesson, just like found in every Exotic Car Hacks video. So we're going to get through this together, so bear with me. So on the surface, the cars are very different. And I think this is the one thing we'll notice here, is that it's really a design thing. The Urus has a much sleeker design. This has a much more muscular design. But I've always said, including the RS6 Avant, that Audis have been some of the best out there, some of the best out there in terms of quality, put togetherness, and toughness. But you'll notice that they are identical cars. Look at this. Look at the soft close and how slow it is. Look at the soft close and how slow it is. It is exactly the same soft close mechanism. It is exactly the same everything. Even the climate is literally stolen out of each. The interface is stolen out of each. The only difference is the cover on the interface of that makes the screen look slightly smaller. This is an exposed screen. So it's really an aesthetic difference. And even if we go back here, look at the massive brakes here. Look at the massive brakes here. And the only difference is ceramic rotors, which of course are an option here and are standard here. So technically, it's the same thing depending on options. Like this one doesn't have carbon mirrors. This one does, but both of them are an option. So technically you could have this mirror on this car or vice versa. And look at even this piece right here. This little blinker piece is exactly the same piece. I guarantee you that I can literally pull this shit off and put it right on here. I can probably pull this mirror cap off and put it right on here, and it'll probably fit just fine. So the question is, why are you paying an extra $100,000 outside of just a badge for this when you could buy this? Well, the answer is quite simple. This isn't a how does it drive review, because honestly, it doesn't matter. Even if this is 1 second faster than this, it still wouldn't change the fact that you can put a tune on this for probably $800 and be faster than this. So this isn't a performance conversation. This isn't an aesthetics or conversation about the ideology of why this is a better buy for the money, but rather I'm about to argue why paying $110,000 more for this makes the most logical sense in the world compared to this. And you're ready for this, and you're about to hear this. Pre-pandemic, meaning as soon as the world was not crazy and the car market was not going apeshit, this car that was $140,000, like $130 and change, was basically selling for $20,000 under MSRP when they were used, right? Which was a pretty big deal, okay? So this car has sold for about $30,000 under MSRP at its lowest point. But this is significantly more expensive than this, which means that this has depreciated significantly less than that. Today, with car pricing going nuts and going crazy, you can buy one of these for MSRP used. You have to pay $100,000 over for this used. So here is the argument ultimately. If you're a believer of consumerism and you buy a car because of its price, then you don't understand exotic car hacks, and this makes a lot of sense. But if you understand exotic car hacks and that how cars are basically savings accounts, and you could literally park your money here, no pun intended, park the money in the car and get back an extra 100K, then this would make a lot more sense, right? So it again comes back down to what I described at the beginning. If you have the funds to buy this, it makes no sense to buy this. Because even if you paid 100K more, you would get back significantly more money owning this. And if you didn't have the money to own this, but like the way you drove and want a sport SUV, this is still one of the best sports SUVs in the market. No different than a Cayenne Sport, whatever fucking coupe that's just equally good as this. It's just much more expensive and prettier. But again, for the money, I don't think you can get a better truck than this for under 150 grand as a consumer. But as an investor in exotics, this is going to be a significantly better investment, and hint why it brings almost 100K over sticker for a Pearl capsule, and even normal cars are still bringing over sticker when they are brand new. So you start to realize that even though this is $100,000 more, the demand in this is driving the price significantly higher. And we can see the same correlation between the Huracan and the R8. While both cars are up, the R8 V10 Plus is up only a minimal fraction of its cost, which is no more than 10% of its MSRP, while the Huracan has now gone up from its used pricing almost right back to MSRP. And in many cases, newer Huracans are selling over MSRP. So this shift in kind of demand for Lamborghini has driven this car to make significantly more sense. Actually, I'm going to even debate you on telling you that if you actually Googled, does a Lamborghini Urus weigh 6,000 pounds, you would see someone did an article on me on why I hate these cars, and 5 Uruses later, I still keep buying them because they make a lot more money than any other SUV. So the concept is quite simple. Do you love money or do you love cars? Because this one hits both, this one hits one. So that's my comparison, only as exotic car hacks style you would expect for the Urus versus the RSQ8. If you have any comments, do you think the extra parking of the money is worth the extra 100K? Or do you think the car here, the RSQ8, is just as good, if not better, regardless of the money? Leave it in the comments and let me know which you would pick, an RSQ8 for 150K or an Urus for 280K. And then let's see opinions or real intelligence in the comments on why you would do so. Like, turn on notifications, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video for exotic car hacks.